All right, let's jump right in. If you're a fan of Lucha Libre, you know that January 2026 was, to put it mildly, an absolutely massive month. We're talking about some huge landscape-altering changes that are pretty much redefining the entire wrestling scene in Mexico. And trust me, that's not an exaggeration. The world of Lucha Libre really has been flipped upside down. You've got its two biggest promotions, AAA and CMLL, and they are taking radically different paths into the future. It's fascinating. So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll cover that massive January shakeup. Then, we'll dive deep into AAA's controversial WWE-influenced new era. After that, we'll look at how CMLL is trying to balance its long history with some new global alliances. And finally, we'll ask, what does all this mean for the future of the fight? I mean, the month just kicked off with one bombshell after another. You had AEW launching a major new TV deal, a top WWE superstar made a shocking return to Mexico. Over in CMLL, we saw a truly legendary unmasking, and on top of all that, some historic new contracts were signed that could genuinely change the business forever. It's a lot to unpack, so let's get into it. Okay, let's start with AAA, because their story is wild. The promotion is going through a total revolution, and it's backed by a very powerful new partner. Now, this has created a ton of excitement, for sure, but also a lot of controversy about what this means for the company's soul. The official start date was January 17th. That's when AAA Worldwide debuted its much-hyped new era on Fox Latin America. And the very first thing everybody noticed was the production value. It's slick, it's polished, it's a massive, massive leap from the look and feel we're used to. But this is where the debate really ignites. This quote here from the Cubs fan over at Lucha Blog, he just nails the central issue. He points out that the new video packages seem to be framing AAA's entire history before this big partnership as, quote, minor league. That's a bold choice, and it has a lot of longtime fans wondering if AAA is trying to erase its own past. And this really lays out the conflict perfectly. On one side, you've got the slick, new WWE-style production. Tons of video packages, cinematic vignettes, a very specific, story-driven way of booking matches. But on the other side, you've got what made AAA for decades. That unique, sometimes chaotic, but always authentic feel that was so rooted in Lucha Libre history. So let's look at the premiere's main event to see how this all played out on screen. You had El Hijo de Vikingo beating El Grande Americano, becoming the #1 contender. Then, the champion, WWE's own Dominik Mysterio, shows up in a pre-taped video. But the real bombshell, the thing that got everyone talking, dropped after the match, and that was the shocking return of another WWE star, Santos Escobar. And he didn't just come out to wave to the crowd, no way. First thing he does, he lays out the Latin American champion El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. And just like that, a massive WWE versus AAA feud is established. Of course, the response was immediate. Wagner Jr. has already called Escobar out. The key takeaway here is that this partnership isn't just happening behind the scenes. It is now the main event storyline. All right, so that's AAA. Now let's totally shift gears and talk about CMLL, Mexico's oldest promotion. They are taking a very, very different approach. They're trying to honor their deep, historic roots while at the same time building some pretty groundbreaking new partnerships with companies like AEW. And that deep respect for tradition was on full display at their Sin Salida event. After a brutal 16-man steel cage match, the 20-year veteran Robin had to unmask, revealing himself as Robin Alvarado Dominguez. It was just a heartbreaking moment, but one that was so steeped in the honor and the incredible legacy of the Alvarado wrestling dynasty. But while they're honoring tradition, CMLL is also innovating in a huge way. They've helped introduce this idea of a dual contract. Now, for anyone who's not familiar, this is a massive deal. It's an agreement where a wrestler is a full-time official member of the roster for two major companies, in this case, CMLL and AEW, at the exact same time. It's a game changer. And the very first two wrestlers to sign these history-making deals are Máscara Dorada and Persefona. This isn't just a guest shot or a one-off appearance. This is basically the forbidden door being completely torn off its hinges, creating a truly global talent pool. It's incredible. So with all these huge shifts, these seismic changes, what does the immediate future even look like? Well, let's look ahead at AAA's next big event, because it really captures this whole new era perfectly. Just take a look at the first block for the 2026 Rated Reyes tournament. You have a WWE superstar, Apollo Crews,
You have an independent sensation in Jack Cartwheel. Then you've got an AAA original, Era Star, and an international talent, Elio LaFleur. I mean, it's such a wild mix of styles and promotions all in one tournament. It just shows you how much the wrestling world is crossing over.
And just to wrap up all the news, voting has officially closed for the Cubs fans' 2025 Tapatia Awards. Now, the results aren't official yet, but the rumor is that CMLL's Mystico and AAA's Hijo del Vikingo absolutely dominated the polls. It just goes to show you, despite all the corporate moves, the top stars of Lucha Libre are still the ones commanding the fans' respect. Which brings us to the final question. Really, the big one that everyone in the lucha world is debating. With this new WWE-influenced style and this massive global platform, is AAA making the right move to become a worldwide powerhouse? Or, in the process, are they sacrificing the very soul that made Lucha Libre so special and so beloved in the first place? Honestly, only time is going to tell.